For those of you who don't know me, I'm Claire. I'm the CEO here at Successwise, and I have Dave Jenyns, who is a systems expert here with us. He's also one of our good friends here at Successwise. Dave wrote an awesome book called Systemology. We recommend this book to all of our clients in helping set up systems. And one of the things that we're going to show you today is how we have set up systems here at Successwise. We'll show you a little bit more about that process. Dave was the one who originally helped me with systems, I want to say like 4 years ago. So we'll show you the evolution of that. But without further ado, Dave, I'll let you start. Is there a better way to explain what systems are really quickly?
Yeah, look, I think of it as a series of steps that when you follow those steps, they produce a consistent outcome. Now, how you document those steps might be a little video or a checklist or a step-by-step process. It is really just a series of steps that you can get other team members to follow to produce a consistent outcome. If you think of your business as one big system, the goal really is to have your business as a system and a series of systems working independent from you. So you sit out over here, you're outside of the business. And if we drill into this big system that is your business, there are different components to it. There's the sales department, marketing department, operations, which is the delivery of your product or service. Maybe you've got HR and finance and the management. Now, they're just some common departments, but you might have some other names. The goal here is to identify the 20% of the systems that really deliver the 80% of the result for the business. And if we can identify that under each department, there's probably a handful of systems that are really driving the result. Now, the key here, the game, and that's what we want to turn this into, is how do we identify what those systems are? Then how do we create an easy way to extract and systemize what's already happening? So that way we can get everybody operating at that level, bring everybody up to that standard, and start to remove what we call key person dependency. So that's really the aim of the game here, is to understand you've got the collection of these systems and whether or not you're conscious of them, they exist. If you've got a team member who's issuing out your invoices, they might not have documented their process on how invoices are issued, but they have a way that they do it. They're probably doing it consistently the same way every single time. By capturing that, whether it's as a video or a checklist or a process, we can start to make it possible for other team members to come in behind them and really take over. So that's kind of like that first concept. And when you understand the health of your whole business, so when we think about this as your business, it's dependent on these subsystems, these departments and the systems that sit underneath those. If you have an unhealthy sales department, it's going to drag the health of the whole business down. So you really need to make sure that you have all of the departments firing. Now, some people, they might be particularly strong in one area, but they might be getting weighed down in another area. So maybe you're great at marketing because you're part of the one-page marketing plan community and you have that dialed in, but maybe your operations department is dragging you down. You don't have the systems in place, which means you can't scale the delivery of your product or service. That's going to harm the overall health. So you really want to think about your business holistically. With that idea, we're going to actually translate that into a bit of a game. And this is what I want you to think about. You could build this out as a spreadsheet if you like, but you think in terms of the departments that we talked about. And again, you might have some different names. And then what I've done down the side here is I've added some different periods here. Now, triggered tasks means something is triggered, as in maybe a client makes a purchase and then that is the trigger to fire off a series of activities. There might be other tasks that happen on a daily period or a monthly or a quarterly or an annual basis. So for example, if someone makes an inquiry and a salesperson needs to step in, that might be a triggered task. Maybe once every month you like to produce a sales report. That's a monthly activity. Maybe every quarter you need to file your taxes. So maybe annually you like to run a management meeting. When we lay it out like this, you can go through each department and think about What are the tasks, and build a map of what systems you need to really drive your business. Again, applying the 80-20, understanding that if we just identify the key ones that deliver the bulk of the result for the department, then this becomes a game. And you can start to color code it, and things that are orange might be systems that you haven't yet got in place. And as you start to document it, you can turn things green, and some things you might identify and you go, we've got nothing in place. And once you've got the game, it makes it much easier for your team to be able to play this game with the idea that we want to turn everything green. The next thing to think about is, what is a system? It's a series of steps that, when followed, create this consistent outcome. And people get a little bit overwhelmed. And again, I just want to come back to this real idea of simplicity. If we think about the idea of creating a system and documenting a path, there's a start point and there's an end point for each different task. But some tasks, there are different decision points and different ways to get to that same outcome. What I'm going to suggest is, when you first create a system, just create what we call the most probable. So just get one path, the most likely outcome for that particular system, and just document that. Don't worry about all of the different variations and things like that. That alone helps to simplify what it is that you're documenting. And you'll find anytime there's an exception, that's usually where it might go to a more senior team member. New team members come on board, they follow these simple systems that might just be a video. Here's how we issue out an invoice. The systems will evolve over time. So it might start off with a simple system at stage one. The very first time you create a system, it might just be a Loom video. And that's the first system that you create. Then someone watches that Loom video and maybe they add some bullet points underneath it. And then over time, more detail gets added, and we add extra bullet points and we add some screenshots, and this evolves over time. If you end up getting these three concepts of your business as a collection of systems, you can translate that and turn it into a game. And then we keep the development of these systems simple. It really makes everything much, much easier. The next step is to think about, how do we actually make this happen? Because everybody's busy. Business owners are busy. Your best team members are busy. How can we make this easy and set it up? And I talk about this concept of identifying the systems champion. And you want to think, whom on your team is really going to drive this initiative forward, who actually has capacity, who enjoys systems and processes, who gets a copy of Systemology, they read the book, they understand the process, and then they start to do the implementation. Systems creation is a two-person job. You've got the knowledgeable worker, the person who knows how to do the task, but then we have a second person, the systems champion, who helps to extract and document and organize and make sure it's in the right place. This is really what will unlock it for you, because the business owner, typically speaking, is the worst person to be creating the systems and the processes. It's funny though, because oftentimes the business owner feels like they need to do it because they want to have it just right. Allan's much the same as me. We don't enjoy writing out a system or a process and getting that detailed documentation down. What we've fallen in love with is the result of the systems. So as a business owner, you don't have to love creating systems, but you have to love what systems can do for your business, so that you get the whole team behind this. And then you empower someone like Claire or your operations manager to find the team members who can really drive this forward. Now, what I'm showing you in here, this is our Asana, and we have a section in our Asana for systems, policies, and trainings creation. We have a template on this, and I'm going to share the system with you so you can just get that as a starting point. But quite often what happens is, you might be on a Zoom meeting with a team member and you're showing them something, or maybe you've got a team meeting and you're doing a little training. Oftentimes the knowledge that's uncovered on that Zoom meeting is forgotten. And you might present it on a team meeting and everybody in the team meeting hears it, but every new team member misses it because it was only done once. The key here is to figure out a way to go from idea all the way through to creating the documentation and getting it in the right place. So every time we have a system or a process, maybe it's something that's mentioned on a Zoom and someone goes, oh, we should clip that out and make that a system. or someone's sat down and made the time to record themselves doing a task, this gets loaded. They come in here, they duplicate this template. It's basically a job request where this is someone's responsibility, our systems champion, to identify who has the knowledge, who's going to be the documenter. Is it a system, a policy, or a training? What is the system about? Here's the recording of the task getting done. Any additional documentation? Where is it going to get saved? Is it a daily task, a triggered task, a weekly, monthly, yearly? What sort of task is it? Is there an associated Asana task? And basically all of this gets populated as a request, and then it becomes someone's responsibility to document this and then get it organized inside our project management platform within Asana. A little while ago, my operations manager and I, when she started, I wanted to teach her how to run a one-on-one call, like a supervisor call when someone is meeting with a team member that they're supervising. You can just see in here the request, I was the knowledgeable worker, and here's the recording. And basically I've populated all of that info just in here. So it started off, it was a call between Allan and I. We were on Zoom. I was walking through step by step how I imagined these calls would run. That video at the end of the call got posted into Asana. They duplicated that request. It got assigned to a team member, our systems champion, whose job it was to document. And now they've basically written out the document here, which is step 1, we open with pleasantries. Step 2, we discuss what happened the week before. Step 3, we let the team member talk through the things that they did, etc. And you'll see basically it's a step-by-step process. Now, if this was left to me to document, it wouldn't happen. But because we've made the process easy for me to get it out of my head and over to the team to do the documentation, we've now created a real flow here where it makes it very easy for us to create a system and a process. And one of the final steps in this process is then to figure out, does this need to be paired together with a task that exists in Asana? And that's really the gold standard, going from that spreadsheet I talked about to getting everything documented. And then the final step is to make sure that task then appears in a project management platform so it can be assigned to a team member with a specific due date and very clear documentation on how it's done. If you get that done, I'm telling you now, it will completely revolutionize the way that you do business, because we're talking about the 80-20, the most important tasks that need to happen, that have documentation and then have someone's responsibility. And then when that person is not available or off sick, it's very easy to reassign that task because there's a system that shows exactly how it's done. And you can imagine how your business would look with all of that documentation done and how it would feel. It's liberating as a business owner because it's for the first time you would see how a business could run without you. And that's the goal here as a business owner. You build it to that point. So the system that I was going to share with you was this one here. It's the documentation request. If you go to systemhub.com/system request, that one right there, and that will be a redirect that will take you to this document that I've just showed you right now. So that'd be a great starting point for you if you're not quite sure, but if you can build that machine and make it someone's responsibility, that'll definitely get you on the right path. So this is for Successwise. This is what we call the critical client flow. It's also the first exercise in the Systemology book. Basically, you identify a primary target audience and a primary product or service, and then you map the linear journey that the lead and also the business goes through to deliver that product. I've done this with Claire. The product that we're going to be talking about here is their one-page marketing plan certification program. You can get certified in one-page marketing plan and then deliver that through to your clients. So the target audience is actually coaches, consultants, accountants who are looking for a value-added service that they want to add into what it is that they're already doing. So I had a call with Claire and we went through and we mapped this linear journey. And I said, Claire, how do you capture the attention of the coaches, consultants, and accountants? And she said, we do it through partners. We run some Facebook ads, email marketing, and We also do some social media. Then when someone's interested, they fill out an application form. They have to qualify. So she takes them through a qualification process, then books them for a discovery call. If it's the right fit and it's good for both parties, she'll send them the payment email, and that includes an order button. Once they've ordered, then they get put into the system where they get welcome emails and access. They get added to an internal spreadsheet and added into a Slack group. And then they move into the core delivery of the program, which involves working quite closely with Allan over the period of 12 sessions. And he's delivering the different SOPs and videos and frameworks and everything that they use at the one-page marketing plan when they're delivering to their clients, so that you as a consultant can then basically do the same and offer those services. So there is a process for that. And as you'd imagine, there are lesson plans for what's getting covered in those 12 calls. And then towards the end of the program, there is the feedback, which is like part of that offboarding, and then also looking at to then optimize that for the future. So you can see that linear journey, and every business has this. If you identified your dream client and you identified your primary product or service, identifying this flow and then using this as a way to identify the first 10 to 15 systems that you systemize. If you think about that spreadsheet that I was talking about earlier, there potentially could be 50 or 100 systems on there to start with, and that can be a bit overwhelming. But you'll find by using the critical client flow, that ends up being a really great way to actually get started. That is the critical client flow for the one-page marketing plan when they're talking about certification. So with that thinking in place, Claire can walk you through, this is how we started, and then these are how we created the systems off the back of that.
Thanks, Dave. This is more under the hood or behind the curtains here at Successwise. When we started talking about creating systems here at Successwise, because Allan and I were like, there was so much going on and we couldn't do everything ourselves, and we started hiring more people here. So when I started creating systems, I was thinking about, okay, what needs to be done on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? How can I teach my team to go through a checklist of tasks to get things done? We had one-off tasks listed under sales, and then daily tasks, weekly tasks, monthly tasks. So that was how I started. You go ahead and put in the departments in your project management tool. And then we just went through the critical client flow of what happens operationally in our certifications. One-off, daily, weekly, monthly. When we talk about attention, this is marketing, but once somebody signs up, I want to show you guys how we created the systems that go behind what happens when somebody signs up for the certification program. So every year we have 3 rounds of certification. And back in the day, I did this all by myself. Allan said, we're going to start a certification program, and I would do the sales process and send emails, set people up on the platform, do all the things myself, but that's not possible now. I want to show you guys what I put together so that my team can help me with the certification program. So I love Google Docs. We try to get most of our clients onto Google Docs from Microsoft or other programs, just because it's so great being able to collaborate on documents and have updated versions of what you're working on. So for this certification, I needed to explain to my team everything that needs to be done. There's a lot that goes into setting the participants up ahead of the program and throughout the program operationally. So I drafted this document, and you can see Carolyn is our systems champion, and she and I can go back and forth. She's asking me like, what should I call the Slack channel? And I can respond. I don't have a video here, but I've written out bullet points. So once a client makes a payment in ThriveCart, which is our payment tool, I'll notify the Slack channel. I add the client to this spreadsheet, and I've got it linked here. So anybody who's reading my system sees all of the resources that are necessary to get this done. So nobody on my team is wondering. I put in the template that we send, that's a welcome template. So I wrote this before, but now I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time this happens. Carolyn adds the client on Slack. And then there are certain things that happen 1 month before the program, 3 weeks out, 1 week out. during week 1, throughout the program, during week 9. So I was just thinking this through because I'm the one who does this, everything that needs to be done operationally for this program. So I sent Carolyn this document after we've gone back and forth on some questions. And this is the system that she created in systemHUB. Now, when you're just starting, it is possible to have your systems in Google Docs, but as your business evolves, systemHUB is a great platform to help you organize the systems. If you're just starting, you could have Google Docs like this that link to a spreadsheet, but we found that just got crazy with all the systems we have here. So now I have a draft, it goes into a document like this, and then this gets linked here. So this is the actual back end of us preparing for round 6, which starts end of May. When we update it for round 7, Carolyn and I will look back through the system and see what needs to be changed. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but in the system, there are all of the email templates that go along with each of these steps. So there's a welcome email, a kickoff call reminder email, accountability buddy sign up, feedback call, information on actually becoming certified. So I've written those in the past, they're here. We're going to continue to optimize them, but when we optimize them, we update it here so that whoever's doing the task has the updated information. I think that makes my life so much easier as the person organizing all of this.
It really doesn't matter what platform you end up using, as long as you've got something in place that solves that particular problem, whether it's systemHUB or something else, whether it's Asana or another project management platform, as long as you get the concept that all Claire's doing is centralizing and organizing all of the information in the business so that if the team's got a question, they know where to go to try and find the information and answer their own questions. The key takeaways that I think someone's getting as they're listening to this is being able to see an actual visual of maybe what the end picture looks like. Because at the start, we came up with a framework for identifying, here's what we should be systemizing and how to turn it into a game. Then we talked about how to make it easy. That could be captured in these most probable, and the systems would evolve over time. And then we got to see what that looks like. And I'm sure someone as well can then start to think, oh, that's how I could do a request inside my business and build it out. Because if you go that step back where Claire was talking about, she first brainstorms and then assigns it to her systems champion. And then there's a process then for getting that documented. Then this really just becomes a function of time, because this might be a 3, 6, 12-month exercise where you're just slowly chipping away, turning all of those green. You don't get a huge effect if it's just 1 or 2 systems. The big impact happens with the cumulative effect. When you look at what Claire's done over the last few years and you layer on 100 systems on top of each other, all saving a little bit of time, all making sure that team members are productive and following a consistent set of steps to get a consistent outcome. Now we're talking about something that can really scale and grow. I have an example of how it can be done if it's just you and it's just a coach. The guy that you're seeing on screen, his name is Dan Lenny, coach for videographers. So he used to be a really successful videographer out of the UK, moved to Australia, decided that he had enough working on the tools, decided to build a coaching business where he would coach other videographers how to build successful studios. So it was just him when he first got started. And he discovered the Systemology book, fell in love with it. He read the book and just instantly got it and said, I love this idea. He ended up creating his own critical client flow. And then because it's just him and he didn't have his systems champion just yet, what he started to do is just record little videos of whenever he did the task. So if he needed to post something on LinkedIn, he would make a video of him posting on LinkedIn. If he needed to run a coaching call, he would record that coaching call. And he did this over the course of about 6 months, where he just recorded little videos on everything, and then he organized them in systemHUB. So basically recorded everything. Because it was still him, there was still no real leverage from him having those videos, because he's still doing it anyway. He just captured it as a way to document what he was doing as he was doing. Then he hired a VA, and following the process, Milka went through and started to watch all of the videos and basically turned them into documentation. So it was a combination of the video and the documentation that ended up getting developed here. And he did this through all of the videos that he created. He started developing best practice, not only for his business, but then also for clients' businesses. Now, as Milka is going through and doing all of the documentation, she started doing a bunch of tasks because through the process of documentation, she was able to learn how it's done. So when you're small, that's a great stepping stone where you start off recording, you hire a virtual assistant, and from there, he started to notice his retention starting to skyrocket because he was getting great results from his clients. And with these proven systems that he was sharing with them, he was able to increase his prices, noticed an uplift in his revenue of 85%. And that was over a 12-month period. He was growing month on month. He was already doing 6 figures, but he was able to shrink the amount of time that he was doing and significantly uplift the revenue just by making sure that he focused on the right things. Now, Den still works incredibly hard. I don't feel Den is doing anything magical here. He just followed the process, and we've outlined a huge amount of that today. So we know this stuff works. Allan and Claire are the same. Now, I know Allan doesn't like documenting systems, but he's fallen in love with the result of documented systems. Claire gets it, and then she's driving the team to do it. As you start to grow and scale, you start to use those systems that you create as a way to cut the teeth of new team members. They come on board and they learn all of the systems in their relevant department, and it becomes a great way to early on train people that this is how we do things here. We follow a process. This is where you start and you learn. And then over time, as they get more and more skilled and new team members come behind them, generally speaking, they stop doing as many of the recurring tasks, and then they start doing special projects and exceptions and things like that. Michael Gerber said, every business is a school. And really what we're doing, the team members are the students. And how do we take your student from, I don't know much, to learning lots and being productive in the shortest amount of time? And that's what systems are. Systems are like the syllabus. That's what you're teaching your students. So see your business as a school, and you're teaching your way of doing things.
So I hope that you learned some good ways about how to go about starting this, from creating the spreadsheet that Dave showed at the beginning to choosing a systems champion. We gave you guys Dave's process for creating systems in his business, the systems documentation. So hopefully you got some good assets, some good resources for starting systems in your business. Thank you for joining, and we'll see all of you again soon.